From Universal Pictures, it's the 1985 crime thriller Stick, starring Burt Reynolds, George Segal, Charles Durning, and Candice Bergen.
Good afternoon. Need some help?
Only if you're a car thief.
I'll do the best I can.
Son of a gun.
Cost you $100.
You got it.
Okay.
Damn. You want a car thief? You think you can find a car thief? You're a car thief.
Welcome to Reading Between the Lines. Once again, I want to remind all of our viewers that there's going to be spoilers.
Tested by a 500-pound gorilla.
Stick is the story of ex-con Ernest Stickley, who just recently gets out of prison, finds himself in a drug deal, and then finds himself into more and more trouble. The very thing that he's trying not to do, which is, do I turn right or do I turn left? And he always seems to turn, well, that's what the whole movie's about.
You like it out there on the edge, don't you, Ernest?
I don't know. I turn left, I'm safe. I turn right, I'm on the edge. I always seem to turn right.
Stick is based on the Elmore Leonard novel by the same name. Elmore Leonard is known for doing a lot of these crime dramas and thrillers, and a lot of his books turning into movies, things like Hombre, 52 Pickup, Get Shorty, these are just to name a few. Even Mr. Majestic, if you like your Charles Bronson movies. And he's been very, very popular in that genre. In fact, he even is part of the screenwriting team for this particular movie, Stick. Stick is going to be directed by its star, Burt Reynolds. Now, Burt Reynolds is coming off a few movies that were very, very popular and very well received for his directing. Sharky's Machine and Gator. And Stick is going to try to be adding to that collective. Burt Reynolds does a pretty good job helming the film. He especially when you look at the very first half of the film, the tension is built, and the editing of it works. All the aspects that you would like to see in a crime thriller works. The second half of the film does get a little bit this, that, and the other. But if you know anything about the production, you know that when Burt Reynolds turned in the film, the producers came back and said they wanted some changes, and of course they asked for changes, and Burt Reynolds, of course, was not very happy with all of this, and he ends up, not really liking the final project. The movie opened up at #1 at the box office and then quickly just died. For Burt Reynolds fans like me, however, I really enjoyed the movie. This is one of my guilty pleasure type movies. Like, when it comes on, I enjoy watching it. The movie is good in some aspects and it's bad in others. Just to touch on some of the bad aspects of the movie very quickly, is that the only true major problem for me is Burt Reynolds directed himself. I think if Burt Reynolds would have had a different director at the helm, or the director could have kept him focused and kept him into his character, then I think we would have had a much more thrilling performance from him. But he goes back into his niches, the things that he's very comfortable with, which is there's times that he plays the comedic element for his character when he probably should not be playing the comedic element for his character. And so you'll see glimpses of that in the movie. So he plays Stick very well in most of the scenes, and then there are times he goes back to that Burt Reynolds, that crutch of being Burt Reynolds. And so that's evident that you see it in the performance. And so that to me is the major weak link. But the enjoyable thing for me, more than anything else in this movie, is the actors. I mean, Charles Durning as Chucky the drug dealer he's wonderful. Candice Bergen is outstanding as the lawyer. And then George Segal is the rich multi-millionaire who likes to hang around criminals. He's just wonderful. You've got a wonderful, wonderful cast, including some of my favorites like Richard Lawson, who was also in Streets of Fire. He's in this movie as well. And then there's the stuntman, Dar Robinson, the very famous stuntman, who plays the albino.
I never saw anybody with bunny eyes before.
Moki, listen, Moki, what are we doing here? Moki, do you know what
He's wonderful in this too. So there's a lot of great performances in this. And of course you're looking at an Elmore Leonard novel, so you're looking at, a very good crime thriller. So you've got a very good story, you've got very good actors, and that's what makes the Stick movie wonderful. The movie Stick has one of the great death scenes that takes place in it, and that's because of Dar Robinson, the stuntman. Dar Robinson had developed a device called a decelerator, which is it allows him to fall, and in his fall it slows him down. Now, the reason why this is important is because you're talking about, this is the era where you don't have CGI. We're not using a CGI type of thing for this stunt. So in order to basically shoot the actor falling down and then see what's happening below and not have an airbag underneath that, the decelerator does that for it. So it makes it look like he's absolutely falling. So it is a cool looking stunt, especially for the time that this stunt was done, and also the danger, because you're basically still falling without an airbag underneath you from a very high place. And Dar Robinson, of course, does a magnificent job with his character acting along with the stunt. So it's one of the really cool stunts of that era. There are several scenes in the movie Stick that are very memorable, and my favorite one is probably the gasoline scene.
What the hell are you drinking? That regular or Ethel?
Ethel. I'll say goodnight.
Castillo Guerra plays Nestor. Nestor is the big-time mob boss out there in Miami, Florida. And one of the elements that he brings to this is voodoo magic. And so there is this idea of voodoo magic. And so one of the aspects of the story is that Chucky owes Nestor a life. And that plays a big part into the story arc. And Guerra is very good in this part. He plays the villain very, very well. And of course, Charles Durning as the drugged out drug dealer Chucky, he is wonderful. He is amazing. It's one of my favorite Charles Durning roles that he's done. And he pretty much nails almost all of his roles, but he's really, really fun in this particular part right here. In the 80s, it's hard to not enjoy Charles Durning, from things like Best Little Whorehouse in Texas to North Dallas 40. Charles Durning's been around for a long time. And so the two bad guys that go up against Stick, they're wonderful performances, and they help out a lot. Stick is an entertaining movie. It has its flaws. It is definitely not a perfect movie in any way, shape, form, or fashion, but you're looking at some good performances, and Burt Reynolds does a good job of directing the movie, getting you from scene to scene, and the action sequences are very, very good. And a lot of the performances are very, very good. The standouts from like George Segal and Charles Durning and so forth. Those performances are very, very good. So he's got a lot of good performances out of the actors. You've got a good storyline. The movie does get you from point A to point B in the story. It does have a good 3-act formula placed in it. The flaw would be, of course, some of the weaknesses would be some of the changes that were taking place in the script that I think are evident when you kind of watch the second half of the movie. You'll start to see a change in pace and a change in what they're trying to do. They become really, in the second half, they become more of a shoot 'em up than a crime thriller, instead of really dealing with the scheme, the scenario of the crime that's being set up, the workings of this underworld of these drug dealers and stuff. And so you lose that, and you start to become more of a shoot 'em up towards the end of the movie. And so, like I said, it's not perfect, but I like Burt Reynolds. It's going to entertain you, okay? And so watch Stick. I think you're going to have a good time. And on my scale from 0 to 100, I'm going to give Stick an 80. Thank you so much for watching my channel. Stay tuned. We got some more videos coming to you very, very soon. This has been Reading Between the Lines.